How do you do, everybody? So, the obvious answer to that question would have to be, of course he did. The first time or two he showed up, he was relatively normal, pretty easy to deal with. There were a couple of in-between times where people only recognized him afterward when I stated, hey, was he here? And they were like, oh, I don't know. And I pointed it out and they were like, yeah, he was here. The times that stick out though, which were like, he showed up, I think a total of 5-6 times, and 3 of those times were just horrible. And then of course there was the calling of my job. There was a time at one point where he was supposed to come get an alternator, threw a huge fit over having to pay the core charge, and the core charge is there to try and add incentive to get you to return the old part. And there was another time where he showed up after I refused to come home and refused to report back to him. So to add a little backstory onto that, I had a friend of mine who he'd been talking a bunch of shit about, and then I told said friend, you know, this is being said, I want you to be aware of this on the off chance it pops up and runs the possibility of messing with your career, because he had a bright future. And I told him about it, then he brought it up and confronted my ex, and then my ex threw a huge fit, chewed me out, screamed at me for multiple hours. It was just super generally horrible on me trying to sit there and tell my friend, yo, heads up. And my ex was like really pissed off because he was sitting there lying to me about it, and then threw a fit, and because I called him out on his lie. And so it made him very skeptical when anybody sent him a friend request. Well, the old fox decided to go ahead and send him a friend request on Facebook, and he lost his shit. My ex had actually figured out pretty early on that me and the fox we'd known each other. It was a mutual interest in each other. My ex had then decided to take my daughter from me because said fox went ahead and sent him a friend request on Facebook. Took my daughter and told me I was never going to see her again, and I was a garbage mom, and I needed to explain how I knew him, and blah, blah, blah. And at the time, I was kind of nervous. I was actually pretty freaking scared about having to explain any of this, because all the fox was trying to do was get to know him, get a basic feel and vibe on how he was. And my ex kind of took it as the fox trying to like harass him or something. I'm not sure, because he hadn't said anything to him or anything like that. And so he started losing his shit, talking about he was never going to see me, or I was never going to see my daughter again. He was going to beat the crap out of me. He was going to destroy my reputation. He was going to destroy me as a person. He was going to turn everyone against me, and how I'm such a bad person because somebody else sent him a friend request. So I decided I'm just going to stay at the fox's house, and I was going to hide out over there for a little while until I had to go to my job again. And he showed up at my primary job, I believe. No, he called my job and told them I was a missing persons, which worried my job pretty badly. And then he had shown up to the other store, because I was bouncing back and forth from store to store at the time, just basically filling in and picking up as much hours as I could. He showed up at that one, started yelling at the fox, all but screaming at the fox from what I was told by not just him, but like multiple other people. Talking about how he came in all threateningly and aggressively and wanted to fight, was sitting there telling him that I was in danger, and he needs to tell him, how the fox needs to tell my ex where I am, and that he's meddling in something he doesn't know about, and blah, blah, blah. Where's my girlfriend? And just generally just kind of just getting aggressive and getting loud, asking where I was, where is his girlfriend? And the fox basically just kind of threw in his face like, bro, she's not your girlfriend, not anymore. She don't want to be, she isn't. And so that started a huge fight. I don't remember how things went when I eventually went home to deal with him, but I know things weren't good. I remember constantly being scared to go home. I remember being very worried the whole time. And I know it ended up in a 3 or 4 hour lecture on how I was breaking his heart and I'm destroying the family because I don't want to be with him. So heaven forbid I decided to try to move on to somebody he didn't approve of, and he was convinced that I was just this bad person who was filling the fox's head full of lies on who he was, when the fox saw for himself in person the text messages sent, heard the voicemails sent to me, all the threatening messages and everything like that. He heard it himself. There was no And so basically that just kind of resulted in him kind of deciding that I needed to choose somebody he approved of. He had to pick someone out for me at the very least, so that way he could make sure it would be someone that he could get along with too. And I wouldn't finna deal with that. And so, like, I didn't convince my ex that things were a certain way or anything like, and I didn't try to convince the Fox of that either. I just told the Fox how things were, and it wasn't like it was just word of mouth. He heard the messages, he heard the screaming of the phone, he saw the text messages, he listened to some of the voicemails. So it's not like I just, things are bad and he just believed me. It was more of he saw the evidence and there was no hiding from it. There was no hiding it. And what's funny is he actually did end up trying to use my place of work as evidence that he wasn't abusive in the courthouse. He tried to use that. He tried to sit there and present the question, do you or do you not work at an auto parts store? Do you or do you not run the risk of crushing your hand with a battery or blah, blah, blah. Now, here's the thing, and this is where I was getting ready to poke holes in that bullshit, but, like, the lady had basically just read the whole thing, and not just the part he was just pointing out, and basically called him out on his bullshit. But he tried to claim that I bruised my hand by dropping a battery on it, or hitting it with a battery, or something like that. Now, here's the thing. The car battery is like a 20 to 60 pound battery. If I dropped a battery on my hand, it would have crushed it. Not just a simple basic bruise. And when I'm changing batteries, I don't have people with me overseeing. When I'm putting batteries away, I don't have people overseeing that either. It's me by myself, so nobody would be there to witness it. So if I broke my hand, I'd be fucked. One of the first things I was taught early on in employment was you never put your hands under the battery. You never put your hands towards the bottom of the battery. You never put your hands in a position where it can potentially get crushed by said battery, because if the battery does fall on your hands, they're going to break it. It's going to break them. It's going to mess them up. So, there's no way I could have dropped a battery on my hand and just gotten away with just a bruise. It would have broken it. I would have had a broken, shattered top of my hand. So, that was kind of a nerve-wracking video. I don't know why. Alrighty, well, that's all I have to let y'all know about. There was just like 3 or 4 primary times that he showed up, or he was very prominent and very in my face about it. So, hey, I'll catch y'all in the next video, I guess.